Let's be honest, would you use your last chip to bet on a 1.75 meter point guard? In the NBA, that size means you've got no chance. They see you as small, they discard you, they say it's a game for giants, and you're the one who reaches the low shelves in the locker room. But in the 2011 draft with the 60th pick, the last one, the throwaway, a scout raised his hand and said, "Give me that serious-faced kid who plays like someone owes him something." That's how Isaiah Thomas made it to the league, the shortest in the draft, the most ignored, the least expected, and yet he had something. This isn't just the usual underdog story, it's something else. A guy who broke every prediction, who fought against the very logic of the sport and paid dearly for it. But hold on, let's not get ahead of ourselves. To understand this story, we have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah, there was a bet. Now, Isaiah's dad, he had a best friend named Tony, and him and Tony had some type of bet going on.
I can't remember the game that it was. We were betting, and I made a bet that I would name my son Isaiah Thomas if the Lakers lost. And the Lakers end up losing.
My mom, she grew up in church, and she liked the name, but she wanted it spelled the biblical way. That's why my name is spelled slightly different than the older Isaiah Thomas.
The Pistons won, and the old man with his face full of anger kept his word. He named him Isaiah Thomas with an extra A, but the message was clear. That kid was already born with a story against him, and that's where it all starts. Because Isaiah didn't just have to carry a name his own father hated, he was also shorter than everyone. Always, from kindergarten to high school. He was the shortest, the last one picked, the one who had to work 3 times as hard just to be seen the same, but instead of using that as an excuse, it became fuel. After dominating in high school, Isaiah Thomas earned a scholarship to play at the University of Washington, and there once again he did what he knew best, prove himself. He played 3 full seasons with consistent and solid averages, 16 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds per game. He was also named All-Conference all 3 years. Not bad for a young left-handed point guard with non-standard height. But you know what the scouts saw? Too small for the NBA? He'll be a cone on defense. He's going to struggle shooting consistently. Once again, they focused more on what he didn't have than on what he actually did on the court. Then came the 2011 draft, a class full of big names: Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, all waiting to be called in the early rounds. Isaiah knew he wasn't going top 10, not even top 20, but he trusted that some smart team would look beyond the physical stats. The first 30 picks passed, nothing. Second round, nothing. 40, 50, 55, and finally at pick number 60, the very last pick of the draft, you could hear, with the 60th pick in the 2011 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Isaiah Thomas from the University of Washington.
Pick in the 2011 NBA draft, the Sacramento Kings select Isaiah Thomas from the University of Washington. Good night, New Jersey.
Last pick, last on the list, the throwaway, but for Isaiah, that was pure fuel. I don't care if I'm picked first or last, all I need is a chance.
To come, but I knew one thing, I was going to be prepared for it if it did. And then my 3rd year, which was my 2nd All-Star year, the game just slowed down for me. Like, it was just so easy after that. No disrespect to nobody. It was just, I knew every night I was going to get 30. Just because I had the opportunity and I prepared for it.
And it was true, because that pick, that number 60, which for others is a joke or just a filler, for him was the entry pass to the place he'd always dreamed of being, the NBA. And now the hardest part was coming, staying there. He didn't take long to earn the starting spot, and once he had it, he never let it go. By his 3rd season, he was already the real deal. He averaged 20 points and 6 assists per game, something no player of his height had ever done in the history of the NBA. Literally, no one. And not only that, he recorded a triple-double against the Wizards with 24 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds. 10 rebounds at 1.75 meters? Yes, sir. Madness. But since it was Sacramento, something had to go wrong. Instead of building around him, they sent him to Phoenix for pennies, a decision that, looking back, was as absurd as it was predictable. They traded him in a minor deal, as if they didn't know what they had, as if they didn't care that this little point guard was quietly making history. Isaiah, true to his style, said nothing. He just kept going, because for him, every new team was the same. Another place where he had to prove, again, that he deserved to be there. And what the Kings didn't know was that they had just given away Boston's next idol. If what happened in Sacramento was surprising, what happened in Phoenix just doesn't make sense. In 2014, the Suns decided to sign Isaiah Thomas to a 4-year deal. Sounds good, right? But there was one small detail. They already had 2 starting point guards, Goran Dragic and Eric Bledsoe, 2 guys who also wanted the ball. So where did Isaiah fit in? The answer is he didn't. From minute 1, the system was a mess. There were no clear roles, minutes were handed out with no logic, and the locker room started to fill with tension. Isaiah still performed, though. He averaged 15 points per game coming off the bench with solid percentages. But the team chemistry was zero, and the patience even worse. By midseason, Dragic publicly exploded against management. He said he no longer trusted the franchise and wanted out. Bledsoe was also uncomfortable, and in the middle of that chaos, Isaiah was the first sacrifice. He was sent to Boston in a last-minute trade. No real explanation, no context, as if he were just another piece on a board that was already upside down. And without meaning to, that move ended up being the best decision of his career, because Boston didn't just give him a role, it gave him an identity. A city that loves players who fight, who aren't born with gifted talent, but with fire in their eyes, the kind of player Isaiah had always been. As soon as he set foot in Boston, Isaiah understood he wasn't just in any franchise. Here, putting up numbers wasn't enough. You had to earn respect, and that happened on the court with effort, with attitude, with hunger. He arrived as a backup, but in just a few games, he became essential. Coming off the bench with just 26 minutes a night, he was putting up 16 points and 4 assists like it was nothing. In the first round of the playoffs against Cleveland, he was the Celtics' best player, quick, aggressive, effective, and above all, reliable. He finished second in the 6th Man of the Year voting, but that wasn't the important part. The important part was that Boston started seeing him differently. He was no longer the last-minute signing, he was the heart of the team. In the following season, Coach Brad Stevens made him a starter from day one, and from there, Isaiah never stopped. He played all 82 games, led the team in points and assists, and became the offensive engine of a Celtics team that was starting to dream again. He averaged 22 points and 6 assists with absurd confidence. He made fearless decisions, drove into the paint among giants, took the hits he never hid, and the NBA noticed Isaiah Thomas was selected as an All-Star for the first time. Pick 60, too small for the league. Throwaway now, he was among the best. And it wasn't a coincidence. In Boston, they had built the system around him. Brad Stevens understood that for Isaiah to shine, the team had to work for him. Fluid positions, open spacing, constant screens, and on defense, they hit him as much as possible. They knew that size-wise, he couldn't perform miracles. But on offense, he had total freedom. He was the perfect player for that system, and that system finally treated him as what he was, a star. What Isaiah Thomas did in the 2016 to 2017 season was downright absurd. At 1.75 meters tall, he averaged 28.9 points per game. Do you realize what that means? That's a number reserved for guys like Kobe, Iverson, Harden, players with dominant physiques, endless wingspans, and a natural advantage in every matchup. Isaiah, on the other hand, had to create every inch of space. Nothing came easy. Every point was a battle. But that season, everything clicked. He controlled the pace of the game, knocked down threes without breathing, absorbed contact like he was invincible, and on top of that, he was one of the most clutch players in the entire NBA. In January of that year, he averaged 33 points per game. It was only the 3rd time in history that a Celtic averaged more than 30 points in a month. He also became the 6th player in franchise history to score over 2,000 points in a single season, and he broke the franchise record with 43 consecutive games, scoring 20 or more points. But the true peak came on December 30th, 2016, Boston versus Miami. Isaiah went off for 52 points, including 29 in the 4th quarter. A wild, inhuman finish. Every shot he took went in. The Garden exploded with every bomb. It's a blessing from God. You dream of these things, but to do it and to do it in Boston, it's crazy. I'm just thankful the team believes in me, he said after the game as the crowd chanted MVP, and yes, they were chanting MVP. It wasn't an exaggeration. At that moment, Isaiah Thomas was a real MVP candidate. He finished 5th in the most valuable player voting. And he was also named an All-Star for the 2nd year in a row and selected to the All-NBA 2nd team, becoming the shortest player in history to achieve that. All of that at 1.75 meters. And as the regular season was coming to an end, no one knew that the best and the worst was still to come. On April 15th, 2017, one day before the playoffs began, Isaiah Thomas received the worst news of his life. His younger sister, China, just 22 years old, had died in a car accident. She was driving alone on a highway in the state of Washington. The car veered off, crashed, and she died instantly. Just like that. No warning, no goodbye, from one second to the next. Isaiah broke down, literally. The pain dragged him down as if a part of his soul had been ripped out. China was his #1 fan, his confidant, his emotional engine, and now she was gone. The next morning, Isaiah took the court. He didn't have to. No one asked him to. No one expected it, but he did it anyway, with tears in his eyes, a devastated face, and a shattered heart. Avery Bradley, his teammate, said that before the game he had to hold Isaiah in the locker room so he wouldn't collapse, and still, he played. The Celtics lost the first 2 games of that series against Chicago, but Isaiah was one of the few bright spots. He scored 33 points in the first game, 20 in the second, and when many thought he wouldn't be able to keep going, something inside him clicked. The team bounced back. Boston won the next 4 games and took the series. Isaiah was the star in all of them, but what came next was one of the most legendary performances in playoff history. On May 2nd, Boston played Game 2 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Washington Wizards. Isaiah was still devastated. He could barely speak, but he kept playing. And that night, he made history, 53 points, the second highest scoring performance in Celtics playoff history, just 1 point shy of John Havlicek's record, 20 points in the fourth quarter and 9 in overtime. A perfect performance, mystical, painful, and magical at the same time. After the game, with a microphone in his face and his voice cracking, Isaiah revealed the true engine behind that madness. It's for her. Today would have been her birthday. Everything I do is for her.
Birthday today. Happy birthday. She would have been 23 today, so everything I do is for her. And she's watching over me, so that's all her. My family, my friends, they tell me to just keep going. My sister wouldn't want me to stop. The only thing about it is once I leave this gym, I hit reality, and she's not here. So that's the tough part. But when I'm in this arena, I can lock in, and I know everything I do is for her.
Isaiah, thank you for your time, and congratulations.
My sister wouldn't want me to quit. It's just when I leave the stadium, I go back to reality, and she's no longer here. That game wasn't just a sports victory, it was a tribute in a jersey, a love letter sent to the sky in the form of points, sacrifice, and tears. From that moment on, no one talked about his height anymore. Isaiah Thomas was a giant, in every sense of the word. During Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland, in the middle of the first half, Isaiah's hip said enough. He played just 18 minutes and didn't return. It was the end of his season, and without knowing it, the beginning of the end of his career. After deeper medical exams, doctors found what was really going on: a torn labrum in his right hip, cartilage loss, and the onset of arthritis. And that's when the first bomb dropped. The injury wasn't new. According to reports, the first serious damage had occurred back in December 2016, months earlier, but had been diagnosed as a simple groin strain. For months, he had played with a torn hip without knowing it, and with every game, every jump, every fall, it kept getting worse and worse. If they had told me what it really was, maybe I would have stopped, but no one explained it like that. I played because I trusted the team. Isaiah would later say.
It was a bone bruise. Right. At the end of the day, it was a bone bruise. Right. Like, that's what they said. Mm-hmm. You know, so if you're going to tell me it's a bone bruise, I'm playing 10 times out of 10. Right. Like, I'm going to figure it out.
I'm going to get through that.
So that was probably the only thing that I wish they would have done different, and I would have really sat down and really asked those questions. Like, what worst case scenario, what could happen?
After the playoffs, the Celtics recommended that he continue without surgery. They bet on rehab, more rest, more natural recovery, but the truth was his hip was wrecked. And the cruelest part of all, while he was trying to recover, Boston was already planning to trade him. Isaiah Thomas had given everything for the Celtics. He played injured, in tears, broken, for the jersey, for the city, out of respect. And the reward was a phone call. Actually, not even that, a missed call. Later they called him back. It was Danny Ainge, the president of basketball operations. He asked how Isaiah was feeling. Isaiah said he was still in pain, but doing everything he could to get back. There was a silence, and then the bomb. Isaiah, I just traded you.
When I got back to Seattle, I missed his call. He texted me, IT, give me a call back. Called him back, then he asked me how I was doing. I was like, I just got back to Seattle. He knew I was on my anniversary. He knew I was in Miami, so I said, I just got back to Seattle, I'm chilling, headed home. And then like it got a little quiet. And then that's when he broke it to me. He's like, well, IT, I just traded you.
Just like that, cold, no sugarcoating, he was traded to Cleveland in a blockbuster deal that brought Kyrie Irving to Boston, the new idol, the replacement. Isaiah, meanwhile, still couldn't even run. The fans couldn't believe it. The 1.75 hero, the one who dropped 53 points crying for his sister, the one who left his hip on the floor, was leaving just like that, like he was just another piece on the board.
I'm talking about my kids about to start school off the strength, after everything I went through, nigga. Like, you're not supposed to do that. But that's what he wanted. And he's like that, but I'm not tripping. It's just crazy that they would do that. Like, I'm not mad. Like, nigga, I'd be mad if I went to a weak ass team. I'm just like, we're gonna win the finals anyway. Like, that's what's crazy, but it's just like, damn, after all I do for the city, gonna be mad as fuck.
Everybody in that stadium wears a IT jersey.
But the worst came later. Upon arriving in Cleveland, Isaiah had to go through routine medical tests, and that's when the suspicions were confirmed. His physical condition was dire, much worse than what the Celtics had reported. Cleveland's doctors couldn't understand how he'd even been able to play. He was on the edge. The trade almost fell apart. Boston had to include a second-round pick to compensate for Isaiah's actual condition. And while all that was going down in the front offices, Thomas was learning about it all through the media. I gave them everything. And they didn't even tell me to my face. He would say later, the hardest part wasn't being traded, the hardest part was how he was traded, as if he meant nothing, as if those 53 points, that pain, that sacrifice, meant absolutely nothing. Isaiah didn't break down publicly, but inside, he started to fall apart. When Isaiah returned to play in Cleveland, he wasn't the same. No explosiveness, no rhythm, and in a system that didn't revolve around him, his game faded. That first step that once made him unstoppable was gone. And without it, he couldn't create space. He couldn't create at all. Everything that made him special had slipped out of his body.
Like Boston.
When you get 30 a night, Mike, you don't talk about a guy's defense. And now when he's struggling to make shots, has a less prominent role for a team's offense, now you really focus in on some of the things defensively he does not bring to the table. When you add all that up, plus the fact that he was too vocal, I think, for a guy that just got there. They didn't need a leader. They needed him to find his game.
Yeah.
That was the final nail.
On top of that, his defense was exposed. He had never been a specialist, but now he was a clear target. Opponents hunted him on every possession, and his defensive numbers were among the worst in the league. To the physical frustration, internal tension was added. Isaiah began pointing out mistakes, criticizing teammates, and even had a clash with Kevin Love for missing time due to mental health issues. In that context, and after just 15 games played, the Cavs sent him to the Lakers, along with a first-round pick, as if he were a burden. In Los Angeles, he didn't fit either. He averaged 15 points on 38% shooting, and before the end of the season, he decided to have hip surgery. Too late. A year earlier, he was asking for the famous Brinks truck in front of his house. Now no one was offering him anything. He signed for the minimum with Denver, played 12 games, just 8 points a night. His presence directly lowered the team's performance. Then came the 10-day contracts, the symbolic signings, the nostalgic comebacks, but he was never the same again. Isaiah Thomas had vanished from the map. If Isaiah Thomas had stepped away earlier, if he'd said, I won't play injured, if he had stopped after the first diagnosis, he'd probably still be in the NBA today. He wouldn't have 53 points in the playoffs. He wouldn't have MVP chance. He wouldn't have had Boston's heart in the palm of his hand, but maybe he'd have a different hip, a different body, a different present, and that's the dilemma. Isaiah played for love, for pride, for respect for his sister and the system. Once it no longer needed him, discarded him like a used towel. No warning, no gratitude, no memory. Was it worth it? He himself said yes, that he doesn't regret giving it all, that he'd do it the same way again, but he also admitted it cost him over $100 million. And more than anything, it cost him his career. His story isn't just a lesson in perseverance, it's also a brutal reminder of how the business works. You can be a hero on Tuesday and gone by Thursday. You can break yourself for the team and no one will break for you. Isaiah Thomas was 5'9", but for a couple of years, he was bigger than everyone. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. This was Hoop Secrets, and I'll see you next time.